If you are anxiously attached and considering dating, either maybe for the first time or getting back out there after a relationship, I think you and I need to talk. First, though, I will tell you why I should be the guy you talk to about this. First thing is, I'm a therapist, been a therapist for 13 years, worked with literally hundreds of clients around the world, both as a therapist and a coach. Also, secondly, I am anxiously attached. I've done a lot of work and gotten a lot healthier, but initially, when I started dating before I got married, this played a huge role in a lot of the ups and downs that I had as dating. So not only can I speak to it clinically on what I've read, but I can also speak to you just from being a person who's lived it. And I know that if you're in the position of considering dating with an anxious attachment, it's kind of a lot. So I want to talk you through what you might want to focus on, what's going to be helpful, and how to really navigate the process, and to do that in a way that honors who you are. Now, one of the greatest challenges we have when we're anxiously attached is that we often look at relationships as something that we need to earn, right? And so when we meet somebody, we feel like the thing we need to do is that we actually just need to talk the person into loving us. And if we can somehow successfully talk them into loving us or being with us, that then we will be okay, because that's what happens when you talk someone into loving you, is like, now you're lovable. And now you know, because maybe you didn't know beforehand, or at least that's how it is when we're really living in that anxious attachment, is we abandon our sense of self and we adopt the other person's sense of self relationally, so that at the end of the day, we feel connected and secure, because now we're defined by a relationship rather than ourselves, which are rather anxious and unsure. So what I want to help you with is that a lot of people who are anxiously attached try to start dating. And when they try to start dating, they actually don't have a great sense of self, hence being anxiously attached. But there is a way you can get around that a little bit, which is to take enough time to know who you are. The thing is that if you have a better sense of who you are, and you're in a healthy spot, and you're taking good care of yourself and practicing self-care and probably doing therapy and talking to somebody about this, you are gonna be much more appropriately positioned to date than if you're not. So really the first thing that we need to do if we're anxiously attached and considering dating is to do as good of a job as we can to be really comfortable, confident, and in our healthiest adult self. And you'll notice I said adult self, and I'm gonna underline that. But what I mean by that adult self is that we are intentional about our life. We know who we are going into it. Because here's the first challenge you're gonna have when you meet somebody, is that if they don't like something you like, or there's a problem or a conflict, our knee-jerk reaction is gonna be, well, I'll just change to accommodate. And so if you don't have as good a sense of self as you can walking into the process, you will quickly abandon who you are the minute you think there's an issue. There doesn't even have to be an issue, but the minute they do that thing where they have to think a little too long for something, or they don't respond as quickly as you'd like, we're out, right? You and I both know we're rethinking everything, we're becoming a different person, and we're abandoning ourselves. So first thing is, have the greatest sense of self that you can. The second thing is, have really a list of core values and things that are really important to you that you're not willing to budge on. Now again, anxious attachers, they are gonna be much more inclined than say someone who's avoidant or disorganized attachment to accommodate somebody else. An anxious attacher is gonna probably, go to the ends of the earth and back to make it work, which in some ways is great. I mean, that's lovely if you're the recipient of that. But the problem is that you can't do that about everything. There's gonna be some things that are just non-negotiable. You're actually not gonna be willing to work through. Now you get to decide whatever those are, but maybe it's, I won't have a long distance relationship, or I want kids, or I want this, or this matters to me, or this is a value that I really find important in my life. Or if you're a faith person, you might say, my faith is really important, I wouldn't date someone who doesn't value that. Doesn't matter what it is, it just matters you know what it is, so that again, when you're tempted to kind of abandon some of this stuff, we know where we really stand at the end of the day. So that's important. So we need to know where we stand, and then we need to hold a boundary about that. And so what that looks like is knowing where we stand, defining the boundary, and then saying here's what I would do if I couldn't get it. Is maybe I'd walk, that actually wouldn't be a person I'd want to date. Or we'd have to have a discussion, or this is how I would deal with this. But it's important before you start dating to really visualize and walk through, how would I actually handle this if this conversation came up? So you're not completely caught off guard when it happens. Okay, next thing is number 3. Why are you dating? I mean, tell me honestly, are you dating because you just got out of a relationship and you don't want to feel bad and alone and you need somebody to help, make you feel better, or do something with, or so is it something about fulfilling a need for you that's an unhealthy need, or is it something about someone you want or a relationship that's of interest? Because anxious attachers, again, are going to be kind of tempted to do this thing where we say, I just don't want to be alone. I don't know who I am. I don't know my value when I'm alone. And so I don't want to be alone. And so the best way to deal with not being in a relationship is find a new one. And if that's the case, I just want you to maybe consider taking a break for a minute and just slowing down and figuring out how you can be on your own. And I know this is a big challenge, but when you can figure out how to be alone and you like that person in the mirror, you like who you actually are, dating is going to become so much easier for you. Truly, it's not popular advice, but it's accurate advice. Sometimes people need to wait, and you might be one of those. So think that through. So yeah, let's say you've done those three things and you've decided now I'm ready to date. Jason, I've got the right mindset. I've got all the outfits I'm gonna wear. I know where we're gonna go. I know what's important to me. I am gonna show up as my healthiest self. Okay, fair. So then how do we be honest with ourselves about how this is probably gonna work? Well, this is what I'm gonna tell you, is that what research tells us is oftentimes anxiously attached people are going to just hands down be most attracted to avoidantly attached people. It's what we call the push-pull relationship, where the anxiously attached person leans in, they kind of chase after the avoidantly attached person. The avoidantly attached person runs away, therefore furthering the chase. It becomes a whole thing. It's exhausting. It ultimately usually doesn't work out, but it kills a lot of time and leads to a lot of regret because we abandon ourselves to do that for a relationship that's not going to work anyway. And so I want you, before you go in, so if we've made the decision we're going to date, awesome. Now we just want to kind of have our wits about us and be on the lookout for the fact that probably some of the people who are going to seem most challenging and just someone who's really intriguing is going to be someone who's avoidantly attached. And the reason for that is because we're going to work to try to figure them out. And so if you are picking, say, from like 100 different people, you're probably going to be tempted to go find the avoidantly attached people, not consciously, but subconsciously is what you're going to be attracted to because it's going to feel exciting and intriguing and interesting. And so I just want to tell you, like, that's actually probably not what you want to do. Probably the people that you want to find are the people who are a little bit slower to do the exciting thing with you. They show up, they care, they're concerned, they're actually really interested, but there's not all this kind of excitement dynamic or the chaos or the will they, won't they. Like, we're trying to find someone secure, because the easiest way to heal anxious attachment, or really any attachment other than secure attachment, by the way, is to be in a relationship with someone that has secure attachment. So the best first thing you could do is literally date someone with a secure attachment. That'd just be the easiest. The trouble is, it's probably not who you're attracted to. It's probably not who you've dated before, and you might not even know what that looks like. So I'm gonna tell you, securely attached people date because it will better their life. They don't need to have it. They can be on their own. They know they're loved. They know they're okay. They don't do the thing that we do where they have to be a chameleon. They just kind of are who they are. And so that's a wonderful thing, but it's also not a super flashy thing sometimes. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's more reserved, and there's not a lot of anxious energy around that. They're not aloof. They can just like be present, be relational, and so they don't always feel like they have everything to lose that you or I might as anxiously attached people. And so just know that as you date, you're going to look for that. You're going to look for the people you can count on. You're going to look for the people who they're going to say it once and they're going to mean it and they're going to do it, and you can count on that, which is going to be a little bit different maybe than what you're used to, or maybe even what you would do, right? You might be a person who might say it once and then ask 5 times just to double, triple, quadruple check, and then still be there 25 minutes early anyway, because you weren't quite sure if you got the time right. So what you need to look for is you need to look for someone who's securely attached. Now, how do you do that? Well, there are some great books on this. There's a book called Attached by Amir Levine. There are also some great resources on the web. I've got some resources. I've got a course, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things. But what I want you to do if you're anxiously attached and you're pursuing dating is to kind of have some education about what it is you're looking for and what it is you're not looking for and how to tell the difference. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to have a support group and a community. And I don't mean like literally you have to meet somewhere as a support group, although if you do, totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I mean by that is I need you to have a couple people in your life who are going to tell you the truth. And this is really, really challenging because we often live in a place where people really struggle to tell us the truth. And if you are friends with a lot of anxiously attached people, they're going to struggle to tell you the truth, right? Because they don't want to jeopardize the relationship they have with you. But the reality is, if you're going to date well, you actually need to hear the truth. And the truth might be, hey, whatever your name is, you are doing that thing again that you do, where it's just starting and you're all wrapped up in it. And it's all encompassing. And as your friend and somebody that loves and cares about you, like I just see, I think you're doing that thing again that we were talking about not doing. You need somebody who will say that to you. And I don't know who that is in your life, but you should find them. And if you can't find them, you should go to a therapist, or you should find a mentor, or you should find somebody who is willing to let you know when it goes off the rails a little bit so that you can make some wise decisions. Because again, you may not be able to trust yourself so much in this process. So that's really important. So we want the education, we want to know what we're looking for and what we aren't looking for. And then secondly, we want a community of friends, peers, loved ones, professionals who are willing to tell us the truth if we get looped into our old way of being. And then lastly, number 3 is I just want to reiterate, like whoever you date, they're not going to fix you and you're not going to fix them. And both are kind of disappointing when you think about it, because it would be great to fix them. That'd be fun. Pick someone wounded, somehow find a way to rescue them and save them and earn love. And then it'd be great to heal ourselves. But the thing is, like, that's not how this is going to work. And so setting healthy expectations and going slower than you like is going to be really, really key. So what does it mean to set healthy expectations? Well, it means we're just going to date and see what happens. And my expectations are that after the first date, we're probably not moving in together. Okay. After the first date, we'll just see if we want to have a second one, and then a third and a fourth. So the biggest thing that I want you to remember is just like taking it the next step by the next step. Where people get really off track is they kind of do this future fantasy where they say, hey, we had a date, seems great, seems like a great prospect, and let's imagine having kids together, or what it'd be like to be married. And what can happen if you're not careful is you will find someone, and sometimes it's more of a narcissistic person, who is happy to promise you everything you want to have promised. And the reason they do that is because it is just the way that they operate in dating. I'll just take a pause. How many of you have had that experience before where you meet somebody, you have seemingly a great, wonderful first experience or even couple of experiences, and they say all the right things with actually no intention or no means or ability to do any of them? It's really destructive. And it's destructive especially for anxiously attached people, because we get really hooked on that, right? We're all about the fantasy of what it could be like if we were loved well. And so that is heartbreaking when it doesn't happen. And so I just want to challenge you, like, if it sounds too good to be true early on, it probably is. Like, that probably is. And the thing you're going to want to look at the most is their actions, not their words. That's what I care about, is what are their actions. So when we do the 3 things on the front end to decide if we want to date, and then the 3 things on the back end, as we start to date, you will in fact find a healthier partner. I promise you. It may take longer than you like, and it may look different than it's looked, but the outcome of that is you will find healthier partners. Now, we will talk in future videos about what to do as that dating process starts and how to navigate some of the things like rejection and some of the things like disconnect and conflict. But for now, I want you to do the 3 things on the front end and the 3 things before we start to engage in that process. When you do that, we will be ready to go, and I will catch you up in future videos and teach you about what it looks like to pursue secure attachment and secure relationships. Thank you.